A deep stillness once shaped the human search for meaning, a quiet art of listening that connected the soul directly to the divine. That art, a practice known as Lectio Divina or Divine Reading, has almost vanished from our modern world. By the end of this, you will possess the keys to a transformative method for encountering wisdom not just with your mind, but with your entire being. We will uncover how a simple, ancient rhythm of reading can open a door to profound inner peace, and explore why such a powerful tool was ever forgotten in the first place. What does a truly sacred conversation with a text sound like to you? Divine reading is a conversation held in silence. This ancient practice, known as Lectio Divina, translates directly from Latin to mean just that, divine reading. It is far more than a method for gathering information or analyzing concepts. This is a traditional Benedictine rhythm, a sacred technology designed not for the mind alone but for the soul. Its purpose is profound communion, a way to encounter the living voice within the words and to deepen your knowledge of the divine not as a distant idea, but as a present reality. Unlike the way we casually skim a news article or academically dissect a text for facts, Lectio Divina invites you to savor a passage. You are not racing toward the end of a chapter. You are listening for a single phrase that seems to glow with a quiet light, a word that resonates deep within you. This is not about consuming content, it is about being nourished by it. It is the difference between hastily eating a meal and truly tasting every single ingredient. The goal is to move beyond the surface of the words and to let them sink into the very center of your being, initiating a dialogue that transforms the reader from the inside out. This sacred conversation with words first emerged not in grand cathedrals, but in the stark silence of the desert. In the 3rd century, men and women seeking a life of pure prayer withdrew into the Egyptian wilderness. They became known as the Desert Fathers and Mothers, and for them, Scripture was not a book to be studied, but a well of living water to be drunk deeply. A theologian named Origen was among the first to articulate this approach. He proposed that every passage of Scripture possessed multiple layers of meaning, much like a human being has a body, a soul, and a spirit. The literal text was just the beginning. The real nourishment was found by listening for the moral and the mystical meanings hidden within, a direct word from God meant for the listener's heart in that very moment. This radical idea, that divine wisdom could speak personally through sacred text, was the seed from which Lectio Divina would grow. Centuries later, a young man named Benedict of Nursia would codify this desert spirituality into a durable rule for community life. His rule, written in the 6th century, wove this practice of sacred reading into the very fabric of the monastic day. He called it Lectio Divina, and he mandated hours for it, treating it with the same importance as manual labor and communal prayer. For Benedict, this was not an optional spiritual exercise. It was essential food for the soul, a necessary discipline to counter idleness and cultivate a heart attentive to God. Within the protective walls of Benedictine monasteries, this rhythm of reading, prayer, and reflection became the heartbeat of daily life. Monks would slowly, deliberately read a short passage of Scripture aloud, often memorizing it. They would then sit in silence, repeating the words, chewing on them, allowing a single phrase to sink in and blossom into prayer. This practice was the primary way they encountered divine wisdom for 1,000 years, a slow, steady flame of contemplation that was faithfully kept alive through the entire Middle Ages. It was not a secret, but it was a discipline reserved for those who had withdrawn from the world's noise. So how did such a foundational practice, so central to Western spirituality for over a millennium, eventually fade from common knowledge? That steady monastic rhythm could not survive the great ruptures of history. The first major shift came with the Protestant Reformation. When reformers championed the authority of Scripture, they made the biblical text available to everyone, a monumental and democratizing step. Yet this very accessibility came with a subtle cost. The focus shifted decisively toward intellectual understanding, toward correct doctrine and personal interpretation. The idea of a text having multiple layers of spiritual meaning, a personal word whispered to the heart, began to seem suspicious, even mystical. Reading became more about analysis than encounter, more about studying the map than walking the terrain yourself. Then came the Enlightenment, an age that elevated reason to the highest throne. The world was to be understood through logic and empirical evidence, not through spiritual intuition. A practice like Lectio Divina, which relies on a receptive, listening heart, was pushed to the margins. It was deemed subjective, unscientific, a relic of a superstitious past. The text was now an object to be dissected under the cold light of reason, its mystery stripped away in the name of scholarly progress. But the final, and perhaps most powerful, force in this story is the one we all live inside every single day, the modern pace of life. Our world is built for speed, for consumption, for multitasking. We scroll through endless streams of information, our attention fractured into 1,000 tiny pieces. The very act of sitting in silence with a single sentence, of chewing on a phrase for 20 minutes, feels alien, almost countercultural. It is an act of rebellion against the noise. And so, this ancient art was gradually boxed away. It became a specialized discipline, preserved within the walls of monasteries and convents, a beautiful secret known only to those who had withdrawn from the world. For the general public, it faded into obscurity, a lost art not because it was forbidden, but because the modern world simply forgot how to listen. Yet what if this forgetting is not the end of the story, but a setup for a profound rediscovery? This forgotten rhythm finds its structure in 4 distinct movements, a gentle progression known as Lectio, Meditatio, Oratio, and Contemplatio. Think of it not as a rigid checklist, but as the natural flow of a deep and meaningful conversation. It begins with Lectio, the slow, deliberate reading of a sacred text. You are not reading for volume or information. You are listening, allowing your ear to catch a particular word or a short phrase that seems to shimmer with a quiet significance just for you. It is like walking along a beach, not to reach the end, but to find that one unique shell that calls to you. You read the passage once, twice, perhaps even a 3rd time, aloud if you can, until a single fragment of the text settles in your awareness. This is the seed you will nurture. From this careful reading, you move softly into meditatio, which is reflection or meditation. Here, you take that chosen word or phrase and you hold it in your mind. You repeat it gently, you turn it over and over, you chew on it as you would a piece of rich, dark honey. You ask simple questions of it. Why did this particular word stand out to me? What is it about this idea that touches my life right now? You are not analyzing the text from a distance. You are inviting it to speak directly into your current situation, your worries, your hopes. The word begins to move from your head down into your heart. Then, as the meaning of the text stirs something within you, the conversation naturally deepens into oratio, which is prayerful response. This is not reciting a formal prayer from memory. This is your authentic, personal reply to what you have just heard. It might be a whisper of gratitude, a silent cry for help, a moment of confusion, or a simple offering of your own thoughts and feelings. If Lectio is you listening, and Meditatio is you digesting, then Oratio is you speaking back from the heart. It is the dialogue becoming real. Finally, the conversation arrives at its most profound and wordless stage, Contemplatio or contemplation. After the speaking and the listening, after the reflection and the response, there comes a point where words simply fall away. You rest, you let go of the need to understand, to analyze, or even to pray. You simply abide in the quiet presence that has been speaking to you through the words. It is a serene stillness, a wordless communion where you are not doing anything, but are simply being held. This is not a state you can force or achieve. It is a gift that arrives when the soul has been thoroughly prepared by the previous 3 steps. This 4-fold rhythm is the complete arc of a sacred encounter, a gentle guide for how to move from reading words on a page to experiencing a presence that transforms you from within. The first movement, Lectio, is where the entire sacred encounter begins. This is the art of sacred reading, a practice of profound attentiveness that stands in direct opposition to how we normally consume information. You begin by choosing a short passage, perhaps just a few verses from a text that holds wisdom for you. The key is brevity. This is not about covering ground, it is about diving deep into a single, quiet pool of words. Find a space where you can be undisturbed, and read the passage aloud slowly, even if only in a whisper. Hearing the words with your own ears, feeling them form in your mouth, makes the experience more tangible and embodied than a silent, hurried scan ever could. You are not reading for the plot or to gather data. You are listening with the softest focus for a single word or a short phrase that seems to catch the light. It might be a word that feels warm to the touch, or one that creates a slight resonance within you, a gentle tug on your awareness. This is what practitioners call the word that shimmers. It is not something you intellectually choose, it is something you receive. Perhaps the phrase "be still" repeats, and in its repetition, you feel a profound sense of relief you did not know you needed. Or maybe the word "courage" stands out, offering a quiet answer to a hidden fear. The entire goal here is receptive, non-analytical engagement. You are setting aside the critic, the scholar, the problem solver within you. You are not asking what the author meant or how this fits into a larger theological framework. You are simply presenting the text to your heart like a mirror, waiting to see which part of it reflects back a light meant specifically for you in this moment. Read the passage a second time and then a third, each time with the same unhurried pace. With each repetition, the landscape of the text becomes more familiar, and that one shimmering word or phrase begins to detach itself from the rest, becoming your personal invitation into a deeper conversation. This chosen fragment is the sacred seed from which everything else will grow. Once you have that shimmering word held gently in your awareness, the practice shifts from listening to a deep, internal processing. This second stage, Meditatio, is where you take the sacred seed discovered in Lectio and you plant it in the soil of your own life. Imagine a cow chewing its cud, a slow, deliberate, and rhythmic process of breaking down roughage into life-giving nourishment. That is the perfect image for this reflective meditation. You are not analyzing the word from a distance. You are ruminating on it, turning it over and over in your heart and mind until its hidden layers of meaning begin to release their sustenance. You might softly repeat the phrase, "Be still and know," allowing each syllable to sink deeper with every repetition. What does it truly mean to be still when your mind is racing with a dozen worries? What would it feel like in your body, in your breathing, to actually embody that command right now? The questions you ask here are not scholarly, they are profoundly personal. Why did this particular word find me today? How is this idea of courage speaking directly to the secret fear I have been carrying? What would it look like to live out this fragment of grace in my relationships, my work, my quietest moments? This is not an intellectual exercise. It is an intimate dialogue where the text becomes a mirror for your soul. In this sacred space of reflection, you create an opening for something more than your own thoughts to speak. You allow the living wisdom within the text, what many traditions might call the Holy Spirit, to illuminate the words from within. It is as if the phrase itself begins to glow with a personal meaning meant just for you, revealing connections to your current circumstances that you could never have logically deduced. A single word like peace might suddenly cast a new light on a difficult conversation you had yesterday, or the phrase "do not fear" might gently untangle a knot of anxiety about tomorrow. This is the mystery of meditatio, the slow, patient work of digesting the divine whisper until it becomes your own truth. When that reflected word begins to feel like a personal truth, something within you naturally stirs to speak. This is the pivotal turn into Oratio, the third stage of the sacred rhythm, where the practice moves decisively from the head down into the heart. After listening in Lectio and reflecting in Meditatio, you now offer your own voice in a heartfelt, spontaneous prayer. This is not the recitation of a memorized verse or a formal plea. It is the raw, authentic response that rises from your encounter with the divine whisper. Imagine a close friend has just shared a profound insight that speaks directly to your deepest worry. Your immediate reaction would not be a cold analysis of their grammar. It would be a surge of gratitude, a confession of your own struggle, or a request for their continued support. Oratio is precisely that kind of intimate. conversational reply to the presence you have been engaging with. The form this prayer takes is as varied as human emotion itself. It might be a quiet whisper of thanksgiving for the comfort you found in the phrase, "Be still." It could become a moment of confession, where the word courage highlights a specific area of your life where you have been living in fear. Perhaps it transforms into a petition, a simple and direct request for the strength or peace you have just glimpsed in the text. Or it may expand into intercession, where the love or hope you have encountered flows outward, leading you to pray for someone else who desperately needs that same gift. The content is not planned, it simply flows from the insights gained in the previous stages. This is where the sacred dialogue becomes a living reality. You are no longer just a reader or a thinker, you are a participant in a relationship. The text has spoken to your condition, and now you speak back from the center of that condition. This heartfelt response completes the circuit of communion, transforming intellectual understanding into a trusting, personal exchange. It is the moment the practice stops being an exercise and starts being a conversation that changes you. This final movement arrives not as an effort, but as a surrender. After the heartfelt prayer of Oratio, after you have spoken your deepest truth, a profound stillness can begin to descend. The practice of Contemplatio is this silent rest, a wordless abiding in the presence you have been conversing with all along. It is the point in a deep friendship where comfortable silence says more than any words could. You are no longer reading, no longer reflecting, no longer even formulating prayers. You are simply being with. This is not a blank emptiness or a trance, but a quiet, loving awareness where the sense of a separate self begins to soften, and you rest in the feeling of being fully known and fully held. It is a state of grace, a gift that arises naturally when the heart has been thoroughly prepared by the previous 3 stages. You cannot force yourself into contemplation. You can only create the conditions for it through Lectio, Meditatio, and Oratio, and then gently let go, allowing the mind to settle and the soul to open. The striving ceases, and in its place blooms a simple, peaceful communion. This is where the most profound spiritual transformation occurs, not because you are actively working on yourself, but because you are consenting to be worked upon. In this silent rest, the truths you chewed on, the prayers you whispered, sink from the conscious mind into the very depths of your being. They are woven into the fabric of your soul without your direct intervention. A new kind of knowing takes root, one that is less about information and more about embodiment. The peace you prayed for becomes a quiet resonance within you. The courage you reflected upon becomes an unshakable part of your foundation. This is the ultimate purpose of the entire sacred rhythm, to lead you to this place of receptive rest where divine wisdom can do its deepest work, reshaping you from the inside out in a silence that speaks more powerfully than any words. Yet the sacred rhythm does not end in silence. Centuries after the fourfold path was established, a profound evolution took root, particularly within the Carmelite tradition of mystics and reformers. They recognized that a genuine encounter with the divine could not remain a private treasure. It had to bear fruit. To the ancient steps of reading, reflection, prayer, and rest, they formally added a 5th, calling it operatio, which means action or work. This was the crucial bridge connecting the inner transformation with the outer world. Operatio insists that the peace discovered in contemplation, the courage unearthed in meditation, must now be lived. It is the practice of allowing the sacred conversation to flow directly into your hands and feet, transforming your daily life into an extension of your prayer. Imagine the insight you received, that gentle command to be still. Operatio asks how that stillness can manifest as patient listening with a distressed friend. Consider the word courage that resonated so deeply. How does that courage now shape a difficult decision you have been avoiding at work? This 5th stage completes the circuit, ensuring the divine whisper does not echo in a closed chamber, but becomes a tangible force of compassion and integrity in your relationships, your community, and your every action. It turns wisdom into works, making your very life the most authentic response to the sacred text you have encountered. But such a profound conversation requires a simple and sacred setting. The beauty of this practice is found in its profound simplicity. needing only three essentials: your text, your space, and your heart. First, the text itself. While any sacred writing can serve, there is a distinct advantage in choosing a physical book over a digital screen. A printed Bible or wisdom text is a singular object. It cannot ping you with notifications or tempt you to check another app. Its pages turn with a soft, deliberate sound, and your progress is measured not by a scrolling bar, but by the gentle weight of one page moving to the other. This physicality grounds you, engaging your senses in a way a backlit screen simply cannot. It becomes an anchor in the present moment, a tangible focus that helps pull you away from the digital whirlwind and into a state of quiet readiness. Second, you need a space that has been set apart, even if only for a short while. This does not require a dedicated chapel or a remote retreat. It can be a favorite chair in a quiet corner, a spot in your garden, or simply a room where you can close the door. The goal is to find a pocket of stillness, a place where the external noise is minimized so the internal whisper can be heard. You might light a simple candle to mark this time as different from the ordinary, a small ritual that signals to your mind and soul that you are now entering sacred ground. The final and most crucial tool, however, is the one you bring with you, your own heart. Approach this practice not with an agenda to achieve or a problem to solve, but with a posture of humble openness. Set aside the need to perform or to immediately understand. Come instead with a quiet willingness to listen, to receive, and to be surprised. This is not about mastering a text, but about being met by a presence. When you bring a humble and open heart into a quiet space, with a physical text in your hands, you have gathered all the simple, powerful tools needed to begin the oldest and most intimate of conversations. The sacred rhythm of Lectio Divina is not a magic formula, but a gentle path that can be easily misunderstood. A common mistake is to approach it as a form of Bible study, where the goal is to gather information or decode theological concepts. The two practices are fundamentally different in their purpose. Bible study engages the intellect to understand the text, while Lectio Divina engages the heart to be transformed by it. You are not coming to the words to dissect their history, but to let their living voice speak into your present moment. If you find yourself reaching for a commentary or analyzing Greek verb tenses, you have shifted from a receptive posture to an analytical one. The goal here is not knowledge about God, but communion with the divine presence speaking through the text. Another frequent pitfall is treating this practice as a form of mystical escapism, a way to withdraw from the world into a private spiritual bliss. This could not be further from its true purpose. Authentic Lectio Divina always grounds you more deeply in reality, not less. The insights you receive are meant to be lived out in operatio, in your patience with your family, your integrity at work, and your compassion for your neighbor. It is not an escape from life, but an invitation to engage with life from a place of profound inner peace and connection. Perhaps the most subtle trap is the urge to force an insight. We sit in silence with a passage, and when nothing immediately shimmers, we grow anxious. We might mentally sift through words, trying to choose one that feels spiritual enough. This striving is the very opposite of the receptive openness the practice requires. The shimmering word is not a prize to be won through effort. It is a gift to be received with patience. If nothing stands out, the practice in that moment is simply to rest in the quiet repetition of the words themselves, trusting that the act of showing up with an open heart is itself a form of prayer. Frustration is a familiar companion for many beginners, especially when the practice feels dry or uneventful. You may go for days or even weeks where the silence feels empty and the words seem flat. This is not a sign of failure. In fact, it is a crucial part of the journey. These dry periods purify your intentions, teaching you to seek the giver and not merely the gift. They train you in faithfulness, showing that the value of this sacred conversation does not depend on your emotional state or the immediate rewards you receive. Finally, we must guard against the temptation to use Lectio Divina for selfish gain. This path is not a spiritual technique for manifesting personal desires or achieving a state of self-improvement. Its sole purpose is divine connection, a humble offering of your attention for the sake of relationship. When you come to the text seeking only what you can get out of it, you close the door to the transformative mystery of simply being with. The practice at its core is an act of love, not utility. It asks for your humble presence, not your perfected performance, and in return, it offers a slow, steady rewiring of the soul away from noise and toward a peace that truly does surpass all understanding. This ancient rhythm of sacred reading might sound familiar to modern ears. Many of us have encountered mindfulness or meditation, practices that also invite us to slow down and turn our attention inward. Yet the journey they propose and the destination they reach are profoundly different. Modern mindfulness often guides you toward an empty, silent mind, a state of pure awareness detached from thought and emotion. The goal is to observe the contents of your consciousness without judgment, to find a peaceful center in the midst of mental chatter. It is a valuable and powerful practice for managing stress and cultivating presence. But Lectio Divina is not a practice of emptying, it is a practice of filling. It is not about observing your thoughts from a distance, but about engaging in a personal, relational dialogue. You are not seeking a silent void, you are listening for a specific voice. The sacred text provides the content, the living word that initiates the conversation. Where secular mindfulness might ask you to notice a feeling of anxiety and let it pass without attachment, Lectio Divina would invite you to bring that very anxiety into your reflection, asking what word of comfort or strength the divine might be speaking directly into it. The focus shifts from the self and its internal states to a relationship with a wisdom that exists beyond the self. This relational core transforms the entire experience. In mindfulness, the anchor is often your own breath, a neutral and ever-present part of you. In Lectio Divina, the anchor is the external, given word of the text, a word believed to carry a personal message from a loving presence. You are not navigating inward to find your own calm center. You are reaching outward and inward simultaneously to connect with a thou. The silence you find at the end is not the silence of an empty room, but the rich, full silence of two beings simply abiding together, a communion that then sends you back into the world with a heart reoriented toward love and action. One practice cultivates a serene observer, the other nurtures a beloved participant in a sacred conversation. This slow, deliberate rhythm of sacred reading does more than calm the spirit, it fundamentally rewires the brain. Modern neuroscience now confirms what the Desert Fathers knew intuitively, that the repetitive, focused nature of Lectio Divina acts as a powerful balm for our overstimulated nervous systems. When you sit in a quiet space and slowly read a short passage aloud, you are engaging the brain in a unique form of deep processing. The act of vocalizing the words, even in a whisper, activates the auditory cortex and grounds you in the present moment, pulling neural resources away from the brain's default mode network, that part of your mind responsible for anxious rumination about the past or future. This simple shift is a direct antidote to the stress response. The body begins to relax, heart rate slows, and cortisol levels drop, creating a physiological state conducive not to fight or flight, but to rest and receptivity. This is the first, most immediate benefit, a tangible quieting of the internal storm, but the practice goes far beyond temporary relaxation. The core activity of Lectio Divina, the gentle repetition of a single meaningful phrase in Meditatio, is a profound exercise in neuroplasticity. Your brain is not a fixed machine. It is a dynamic organ that constantly reshapes itself based on what you pay attention to. When you choose to focus your entire awareness on a word like peace or be still, you are strengthening the neural pathways associated with those very states. Every time you gently return your wandering mind to that phrase, you are not failing. You are succeeding at the most important part. You are training your brain for sustained, single-pointed focus. This mental muscle, once strengthened, begins to transfer into your daily life. You may find yourself less pulled into digital distractions, more able to concentrate on a single task at work, and better equipped to listen deeply to another person without your mind racing ahead to formulate a response. The practice literally builds a more resilient, less distractible mind. This neurological rewiring extends powerfully into the realm of emotional regulation. The journey from meditatio into oratio, from reflection into heartfelt prayer, is a process of integrating cognitive understanding with emotional experience. As you ruminate on a word like courage, you are not just thinking about it, you are feeling its absence or its potential in your life. You are allowing the word to touch the emotional centers of your brain, the amygdala and the limbic system. Then, when you express your fears or hopes in spontaneous prayer, you are giving a voice to those emotions in a safe, structured context. This act of naming and offering your feelings, rather than suppressing them or being overwhelmed by them, is a cornerstone of emotional health. It creates a pause between a triggering event and your reaction, granting you the freedom to choose a more thoughtful, compassionate response. Over time, this practice cultivates a fundamental sense of inner stability, where external circumstances have less power to throw you into turmoil because you have a reliable, internal sanctuary to return to. Ultimately, these individual benefits converge into a single profound outcome, a deep and abiding sense of well-being. The final stage of contemplatio, that wordless rest, is not a spiritual abstraction. It corresponds to a measurable state in the brain. Brainwave studies of experienced meditators show a shift into alpha and theta waves, states associated with deep relaxation, creativity, and a diminished sense of ego boundaries. In this serene space, the brain releases neurotransmitters like serotonin and endorphins, the very chemicals that promote feelings of peace and contentment. This is not a fleeting happiness dependent on external conditions, but a contentment that arises from within, from a reconnection to a foundational sense of meaning and connection. The ancient rhythm of divine reading, therefore, offers a complete system for human flourishing, a path that soothes the body, focuses the mind, heals the heart, and anchors the soul in a peace that the modern world, with all its noise and speed, can neither give nor take away. The beauty of this ancient rhythm is that its structure belongs to no single faith. You do not need to be a monk or even a Christian to begin this sacred conversation. The core of Lectio Divina is a universal human capacity, the longing to listen for a deeper voice within the words we hold sacred. If the traditional biblical text does not resonate with you, the entire world becomes your library. The fourfold movement of reading, reflecting, responding, and resting can be applied to any text that carries for you the weight of wisdom and truth. Perhaps you feel a profound sense of connection reading the poetic verses of Rumi, where the longing for the divine is a burning, ecstatic love. His words become your sacred text. You can sit with a single line like, "Be a lamp or a lifeboat or a ladder." Read it slowly, aloud. Listen for which part of that invitation shimmers for you today. Does lifeboat call to a desire within you to offer someone else safety? Or does ladder speak to your own need to rise above a current difficulty? The text is simply the vessel. The living voice you are listening for is the universal wisdom speaking through it. The same practice can be done with the tranquil verses of the Tao Te Ching, the compassionate teachings of the Buddha in the Dhammapada, or the powerful Psalms of the Hebrew tradition. The key is to choose words that feel alive to you, words that have the potential to reach beyond the page and touch your soul. But what if you do not follow any organized spiritual path at all? The practice remains profoundly accessible. Your sacred text might be a poem by Mary Oliver, whose observations of the natural world are themselves a form of prayer. A line like "Tell me, what is it you plan to do with your one wild and precious life?" is a perfect passage for Lectio Divina. Read it, not as a literary critic, but as a seeker. Let the question sink in during meditatio. What does wild mean to you right now? What feels precious in this very moment? Then in oratio, offer your own heartfelt, wordless or worded response to that question. Your prayer might be a simple acknowledgement of fear, or a surge of determination. The source of the wisdom matters less than the sincerity with which you engage it. You are not being asked to believe in a specific doctrine, but to believe in the possibility that a deeper intelligence, a universal love, or a fundamental truth can speak to you personally through the beauty of language. And for some, the most powerful text of all is not written in any book. It is written in the world around us. nature itself can be your sacred passage. Find a quiet spot outdoors, perhaps by a stream or under a tree. In this adaptation, the first step, Lectio, becomes a practice of deep, attentive observation. Instead of reading words, you read the landscape. Look slowly and deliberately, listening not with your ears but with your entire being. Allow your gaze to settle on one particular detail that shimmers for you: the way light filters through the leaves, the steady flow of water over stones, the intricate pattern of a spider's web. This becomes your chosen phrase, your word from the divine. Then, move into meditatio. Reflect on that image. Why has this particular scene captured your attention? What quality does it hold that your soul might need today? The flowing water might speak to you of letting go. The strong, silent tree might embody a lesson in resilience. The spider's web might reflect the interconnectedness of all things. Hold this natural metaphor in your heart and let it speak to your life. From there, the rhythm flows naturally into Oratio, a silent or spoken response of gratitude for the beauty, or a prayer for the strength to embody the lesson you have received. Finally, you rest in Contemplatio, simply abiding in the presence of the natural world, feeling yourself as a part of it, held in a wordless communion that requires no belief system, only a receptive heart. The universal themes are your guide: love, wisdom, courage, peace, connection. Whatever text or scene you choose, the ancient rhythm provides the map for a journey from reading the world to hearing it speak your name. This sacred rhythm, often experienced in solitude, finds a unique and powerful resonance when shared with others. The practice of Lectio Divina in community transforms a personal dialogue into a symphony of shared listening. You begin the same way, in a quiet space with a short passage read aloud slowly. Each person listens for that one word or phrase that shimmers for them individually. After a moment of silence, the sharing begins. One by one, each person simply speaks the word or short phrase they received, nothing more. There are no explanations, no long stories. It is a simple, profound offering of the seed each person was given. You might hear one person softly say peace, another whisper be not afraid, and another offer steadfast love. The group simply receives each offering in silence, honoring the unique way the divine voice speaks to each heart. This first step alone is a powerful lesson in humility and the vastness of spiritual perspective, as the same few lines of text yield a bouquet of different sacred words. From this shared foundation, the group moves gently into the reflection of meditatio. Now, each person has the opportunity to share a bit more, to express why that particular word or phrase resonated with them. The key here is to listen without any judgment or the need to fix, correct, or even fully understand. You are not debating the text or analyzing each other's interpretations. You are acting as sacred witnesses, holding space for the personal and often vulnerable ways the living word is touching another's life. When someone shares that the word courage spoke to a hidden fear about their health, you do not offer advice. You simply receive their truth as a gift, allowing their reflection to deepen your own understanding of both the text and the human heart. This shared meditation reveals the many facets of a single truth, like a diamond turned in the light. The prayer of Oratio then becomes a collective response. After everyone has shared, the group enters a time of spontaneous prayer. One person might begin, offering a short sentence that gathers the themes of the sharing, saying something like, "God, we bring you our fears and our longing for courage." Another might add, "And we thank you for the peace that holds us through it all." The prayers weave together the individual threads into a single tapestry of shared longing, gratitude, and intercession. It is no longer my prayer, but our prayer. The conversation with the divine expands, enriched by the voices and hearts of the entire community. Finally, the group rests together in the wordless silence of Contemplatio. This shared stillness is profoundly different from being alone. There is a tangible sense of being held not only by a divine presence, but by the quiet, breathing community around you. The silence is warm and full, a unified resting in the mystery that is spoken to each person in their own way. This communal practice does more than deepen individual understanding. It forges bonds of spiritual kinship. It reminds us that we are not listening alone, that the divine whisper calls to each of us individually, yet weaves us all together into a larger, more compassionate whole. A quiet revolution happens when you realize this sacred rhythm is not bound by a single book. The same fourfold movement that opens a biblical text can unlock the profound wisdom waiting in any writing that speaks to the human spirit. The poetry of Rumi, for instance, is a perfect companion for this practice. Take the line, "You are not a drop in the ocean, you are the entire ocean in a drop." Begin with Lectio. Read this line slowly, aloud, and listen. Does the word drop shimmer for you, highlighting a feeling of smallness? Or does ocean resonate, calling to a vast, untapped potential within? Hold that single word as your sacred seed. Move into meditatio, ruminating on why this particular image has found you. If drop is your word, reflect on the times you have felt insignificant. What would it mean for that tiny drop to contain the whole ocean? The reflection turns the metaphor inward, revealing a personal truth about your own immense, hidden capacity. This naturally flows into Oratio, a prayerful response that might be a whisper of awe, a confession of self-doubt, or a plea for the courage to live from that oceanic truth. Finally, rest in contemplatio, letting go of the words to simply abide in the expansive feeling of being both uniquely individual and universally connected. You can apply this very same rhythm to the philosophical reflections of Marcus Aurelius. His meditations were a private journal, a man in conversation with his own soul. A passage like, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts," becomes your text for Lectio. Read it with soft focus. Does happiness catch your attention, or is it quality that holds a challenge for you? In meditatio, you chew on this chosen word. If quality is your focus, you might reflect on the stream of thoughts that filled your last hour. Were they anxious, critical, or hopeful? You are not just thinking about the Stoic idea, you are letting it interrogate your actual life. This reflection almost certainly prompts Oratio, a heartfelt prayer for the strength to guard the gates of your mind, or a simple expression of gratitude for a moment of recent mental clarity. The practice concludes with contemplatio, resting in the quiet sovereignty that comes from acknowledging your power over your inner world. Even the lyrics of a meaningful song can serve as your sacred text. A line from a folk ballad or a soulful hymn, when approached with this intentional rhythm, can become a conduit for deep insight. The process remains beautifully consistent. In Lectio, you listen to the line or read it slowly, waiting for a phrase to illuminate. In Meditatio, you reflect on its personal significance, connecting the artist's expression to your own story. In Oratio, you offer your authentic response, perhaps set to the same melody. And in Contemplatio, you rest in the feeling the music and words have evoked, allowing the resonance to integrate into your being. The source of the words is less important than the depth of your engagement. Whether it is Rumi's ecstatic love, Aurelius' disciplined reason, or a songwriter's raw emotion, the ancient rhythm of divine reading provides the vessel for a journey into the heart of any wisdom, waiting to hear what it has to say to you, and you alone, today. This divine conversation has a silent partner, a presence that turns reading into revelation. The ancient practice of Lectio Divina rests on a single, profound truth. It is not a human technique to grasp for spiritual insight, but a spirit-led encounter where we are met by a living voice. We are not the primary actors in this sacred rhythm. We are the listeners, the receivers, the ones who show up with an open heart, trusting that a wisdom greater than our own will use the words on the page to speak directly to our condition. This is the theological cornerstone that elevates the practice from a simple meditation to a genuine communion. The words themselves are the vessel, but the Holy Spirit is the breath that fills them with life, transforming ancient text into a personal, present-tense message. Think of it like tuning a radio. Your focused attention in Lectio is you carefully turning the dial, eliminating the static of your own thoughts and the world's noise. The shimmering word that emerges is the signal breaking through, a frequency of grace meant just for you. But you are not generating that signal. You are simply positioning your receiver to catch what is already being broadcast. This is the work of the Spirit, illuminating a specific phrase, making it resonate with a light that your intellect alone could never perceive. So how do you cultivate this posture of receptive listening? It begins with a fundamental shift from seeking to receiving. You do not approach the text demanding an answer or a specific insight. You come with a quiet humility, a gentle expectation that something will be given. This is an act of trust. You are trusting that the same Spirit who inspired the writing of the sacred words is also present with you now, ready to inspire your reading of them. Your role is to create the inner silence, the spaciousness, where that divine whisper can be heard. This requires a deliberate surrender of control. You set aside the need to figure everything out, to immediately understand, or to force a meaning on the passage. You simply present the text and your open heart, and you wait. This waiting is not passive, it is an active, alert, and loving attention. It is the difference between staring at a door, waiting for it to open, and sitting peacefully in a sunlit room, knowing that your guest has already arrived and will speak when the moment is right. Discernment is the natural companion to this listening. How do you know the shimmering word is from the Spirit and not just a random thought or a personal projection? The test is often in the fruit it bears. A word truly from the divine voice will not lead you into anxiety, fear, or self-condemnation. It may be challenging, it may call you to courage or repentance, but its underlying tone is always one of love, life, and peace. It feels like a balm, even when it is also a correction. It rings with a resonance that settles deep in your soul, feeling both profoundly true and intimately personal. Over time, as you practice this receptive listening, you begin to recognize the quality of this voice, just as you learn to recognize the tone of a dear friend on the telephone. It has a certain texture, a gentleness, authority that does not crush, and a truth that sets you free. This is the heart of the mystery. You are not alone with a book. You are in a triune conversation, with the text as the medium, your heart as the receiver, and the Holy Spirit as the divine speaker, making all things new. History itself is filled with master listeners, women and men whose lives became testaments to the power of this sacred conversation. One of the earliest and most passionate practitioners was St. Augustine. His entire spiritual journey, chronicled in his Confessions, is a dramatic story of divine reading. The pivotal moment of his conversion did not happen in a church, but in a garden, in a state of utter turmoil. He heard a child's voice chanting, "Take up and read, take up and read." He took this as a divine command, opening the letters of St. Paul to a random passage. His eyes fell upon the words, not in reveling and drunkenness, not in debauchery and licentiousness, not in quarreling and jealousy. Instead, put on the Lord Jesus Christ, and make no provision for the flesh to gratify its desires. In that instant, through the practice of Lectio, those words ceased to be ancient text and became a living, personal command. He felt the light of certainty flood his heart, and all his shadows of doubt vanished. For Augustine, divine reading was the very means by which God's voice broke through his intellectual resistance and captured his will. Centuries later, in the intensity of 16th century Spain, two Carmelite reformers demonstrated how this practice could lead to the most profound mystical unions. Saint Teresa of Avila found in Lectio Divina the foundation for her entire life of prayer. For her, the sacred text was not a dry document, but a love letter. She would read slowly, savoring each word, and when a particular phrase captivated her, she would stop. She did not need to read further. That single sentence was enough to occupy her for an entire hour as she turned it over in her heart, allowing it to spark a fiery dialogue of love with God. She taught her nuns that the goal was not to think much, but to love much, and this loving attention to the divine word was the surest path. Her protege, St. John of the Cross, while undergoing brutal imprisonment, composed some of the most beautiful spiritual poetry ever written. His entire work, like the dark night of the soul, is an extended meditation born from divine reading. In his cell, deprived of any physical scripture, he would recall memorized passages, ruminating on them until they blossomed into ecstatic verse. For him, the words of the Song of Songs became the living language of his own soul's passionate journey toward God. proving that the sacred text, once internalized, could become an inner wellspring of comfort and vision even in the deepest darkness. In our own era, a restless young man named Thomas Merton stumbled upon this ancient art and found his home. A Trappist monk of the 20th century, Merton became a bridge, translating the wisdom of the Desert Fathers for a modern audience. He wrote extensively of his own practice, describing how he would sit in the early morning silence of the monastery library with the Bible open before him. He listened not for scholarly commentary, but for the voice of Christ speaking in the stillness. He discovered that through this slow, receptive reading, the scriptures ceased to be a historical record and became a mirror in which he saw his own true self, and through that self, the face of God. He famously wrote that in the depths of this contemplative reading, he realized he and the leper he was reading about were one and the same, an insight that shattered his illusions and expanded his compassion to embrace all of humanity. These masters, from the passionate Augustine to the mystical Teresa, from the poetic John to the modern Merton, all shared one common thread. They did not use the text, they encountered a presence through it. Their lives remind us that the sacred rhythm of Lectio Divina is not a quietist retreat from the world, but a dynamic engagement with a voice that has the power to convert the soul, inspire radical love, and reveal our deepest identity. Your daily life already has a rhythm, and this ancient practice can find its home within it. Begin with a commitment so small it feels almost effortless, just 10 or 15 minutes a day. This is not about adding another burdensome task to your checklist, but about carving out a tiny sanctuary in time. Choose a specific, consistent moment that already holds a degree of quiet. For many, the early morning, before the day's demands begin to clamor, is ideal. For others, it might be a quiet lunch break in a park or the few minutes after the house has settled in the evening. The key is consistency, not duration. A short practice done regularly will weave itself into the fabric of your life far more effectively than an ambitious hour that you soon abandon. Think of it as planting a single seed each day in the same small patch of soil, rather than trying to landscape an entire garden in one exhausting weekend. This gentle regularity trains your mind and spirit to anticipate the quiet, creating a natural rhythm of sacred pause. Alongside your chosen text, invite a simple journal to be your companion. This is not a diary for long narratives, but a logbook for your soul's journey. After you have moved through the stages of reading, reflection, prayer, and rest, take just a minute to write down the word or phrase that shimmered for you. You might add a sentence or two about what it stirred in your heart, or the prayer it prompted. Do not overthink this. The act of writing physically anchors the experience, giving it a tangible place in your world. Over weeks and months, this journal becomes a powerful testament. On days when the practice feels dry and the words seem flat, you can look back and see a trail of breadcrumbs, a record of moments where the divine whisper was unmistakably clear. This record reinforces your trust in the process, reminding you that even in the silence, something sacred is at work beneath the surface. The most important element of building this practice, however, is the spirit you bring to it, one of profound gentleness. There will be days you forget, or you are too tired, or your 15 minutes is interrupted by a crying child or an urgent email. In these moments, the goal is to release all judgment. This is not a performance to be graded. There is no perfect streak to maintain. The moment you notice you have missed a day, simply offer a gentle smile to yourself and return to your chosen time the next day, without any self-criticism. The practice itself is built on grace, and it demands that you extend that same grace to yourself. Your consistency is not measured by an unbroken chain of days, but by the loving willingness with which you return, again and again, to the open space you have created. The sacred rhythm is always there, waiting patiently for you to step back into its current, no matter how long you have been away. There will be days when the sacred text feels like a stone in your hand, heavy and silent. The words that once shimmered with life now lie flat and gray on the page, and the quiet space you have so carefully prepared feels not like a sanctuary, but a void. This experience, far from being a sign that you were doing it wrong, is a profound and necessary passage known to every serious practitioner. It is the landscape St. John of the Cross named the dark night of the soul, and it is here, in this apparent emptiness, that Lectio Divina reveals its most transformative power. This is not the absence of God, but a deeper, more intimate form of divine encounter where God is met not in consoling feelings, but in the purity of faith itself. In our habitual way of praying, we often seek a reward, a warm feeling of connection, a clear insight that assures us we are on the right path. We become attached to the gifts, the spiritual consolation. The dark night is the process where those gifts are gently withdrawn. It is a divine purification, a loving action where God dismantles our fragile, self-constructed spirituality to make room for something far more substantial. Think of a parent teaching a child to walk. At first, they hold the child's hands tightly, offering constant support and encouraging smiles. But eventually, they must let go, stepping back into silence so the child can learn to walk on their own strength, not toward the parent's hands, but toward the parent themselves. The dark night is that loving, necessary withdrawal. The consolations are removed not as a punishment, but so you can learn to seek the giver, not the gifts. Your practice of Lectio Divina during this time shifts fundamentally. You continue the rhythm out of faithfulness, not feeling. You still choose your text. You still read slowly, aloud, listening for a word. But no word shimmers. The silence in Meditatio is absolute. Your oratio, your prayerful response, becomes a raw and honest confession of the dryness itself. God, I feel nothing. I am here, I am waiting. I trust you are in this silence. This prayer, born of sheer will and fidelity, is perhaps the most pure prayer you will ever offer. It is stripped of all self-interest, all emotional gratification. It is prayer for God's sake alone. This is the heart of the dark night, where your motivation is purified. You are not practicing to feel peaceful or enlightened. You are practicing simply to be present to the one who is present, even in the apparent absence. The ego, which so easily co-opts spiritual experiences for its own validation, is left with nothing to grasp. In this void, a deeper, more authentic faith can take root, a faith that does not depend on spiritual highs or intellectual certainty, but on a stubborn, loving trust that holds on even when all sensory and emotional evidence seems to contradict it. The practice becomes a walk in the dark, your hand outstretched, guided only by the memory of a voice and the promise of a presence. This is the ultimate test of operatio, of putting faith into action. You live out the trust you are professing in the silence. You extend patience to others not because you feel patient, but because you are choosing to act from the core of your being, beyond the shifting sands of emotion. You offer kindness not for the reward of feeling good about yourself, but as a simple, faithful response to the love you believe is holding you, even when you cannot feel its grasp. The dark night, therefore, is not a detour on the spiritual path. It is the path itself, leading you from a relationship with God based on what you receive, to a union with God based on who you are becoming, a soul capable of loving without any demand for a return. It is in this profound and purifying silence that the divine work goes deepest, preparing you for a communion that words were never meant to carry. Yet in our own time, a quiet counter-movement is taking root. From the very heart of modern Christianity, a chorus of influential voices is calling for a return to this ancient rhythm, translating its monastic language for a new generation of seekers. The late Pope Benedict XVI was a pivotal figure in this revival. He repeatedly urged all Catholics, not just clergy, to practice Lectio Divina, calling it a truly spiritual reading that opens the door to a personal encounter with Christ. He framed it not as a pious exercise for the elite, but as vital nourishment for every believer, a way to keep faith from becoming a mere intellectual assent and instead make it a living dialogue. This high-level endorsement from the Vatican helped to legitimize the practice for millions, pulling it from the exclusive domain of monasteries and placing it into the hands of ordinary people. Around the same time, in the world of Protestant spirituality, authors like Richard Foster were building a similar bridge through their writing. In his classic work Celebration of Discipline, Foster presented Lectio Divina as a central practice for spiritual growth, demystifying its steps and emphasizing its power to form Christ within. He, along with others like Dallas Willard, presented it not as a Catholic tradition, but as a universal Christian discipline, a means of grace available to anyone with a Bible and a willing heart. Their accessible teachings gave evangelicals and mainline Protestants a practical roadmap and the theological permission to explore this contemplative path, sparking small group studies and personal experiments in churches worldwide. This grassroots renewal has found a powerful amplifier in the very technology that often distracts us. Smartphone apps like Hallow and Pray As You Go now offer guided Lectio Divina sessions, with soft music, narrated scripture, and periods of silence built into a daily audio track. You can be on a crowded bus, put in your headphones, and for 10 minutes be led through this sacred rhythm. Online communities and social media accounts dedicated to contemplative prayer create spaces for shared encouragement, where people can post the word that shimmered for them that day. These digital tools are not replacing the physical book and the quiet corner, but they are meeting modern seekers where they are, offering an on-ramp to a practice that once seemed intimidatingly ancient. The revival is also happening locally, in living rooms and church basements. Contemporary Christian communities, from Catholic parishes to non-denominational churches, are forming small groups dedicated solely to the practice of sacred reading. They gather not for a sermon or a Bible study, but to sit in silence together, to share the words that resonated, and to listen as the same text speaks a unique message to each heart. This communal aspect is crucial, as it provides both accountability and the profound reassurance that you are not listening alone. The ancient rhythm of divine reading is no longer a forgotten relic. It is being rediscovered as an antidote to the fragmentation of modern life, a timeless secret for finding depth in a shallow world, offered anew to anyone with the courage to be still and listen. Let's take a quiet walk through a short passage together, right now. Find a comfortable position, and if you can, close your eyes for just a moment. Let the noise around you and within you begin to settle. We will use the opening of a very old and comforting poem, Psalm 23. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul. I will read the passage once more, slowly. Listen, not with your analytical mind, but with the ear of your heart. Allow the words to simply wash over you. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul. Now, in the quiet, notice if a single word or a short phrase seems to hold a special weight for you in this moment. Perhaps it is shepherd. Maybe it is still waters, or perhaps the words He restores my soul resonate with a deep ache or a quiet hope. Do not force it. Simply receive the word that shimmers for you. Hold that word gently in your awareness. This is your sacred seed. Now, let that word sink a little deeper. Repeat it softly in your mind. If your word is shepherd, what does that image evoke for you right now? A sense of being guided when you feel lost. A feeling of being provided for when you feel anxious about your needs. If still waters found you, what is the opposite of that stillness in your life right now? What would it feel like to be led to a place of such quiet and peace? Or if He restores my soul is your phrase, where in your life does your soul feel in need of restoration? Is it weary from worry, fragmented by busyness, or feeling a little broken? Do not analyze, just reflect. Let the word or phrase connect to the real texture of your life, your hidden worries, your quiet longings. As that reflection stirs something within, let it become a simple, honest response. This is your prayer spoken from the heart. It might sound like, "Thank you for this reminder that I am not alone in guiding my life," or "Please lead me to those still waters, because my mind feels anything but still today." It could be a silent, wordless offering of your weariness, a simple, "I need my soul to be restored. I am so tired," or perhaps it is just a deep, heartfelt sigh of gratitude for a moment of peace. There is no right or wrong way to do this. It is your authentic voice speaking back to the presence you have encountered in the words. And now, Let all of it go. Release the word, release the reflection, release even the prayer. There is nothing more you need to do, nothing to understand or achieve, simply rest. Be present in the silence that remains after the conversation. Abide in the quiet assurance that you are held, you are heard, you are known. If thoughts drift in, gently return to your breath, or simply rest in the feeling of being a soul in need of restoration, held by a stillness deeper than any noise. Remain here for a few more heartbeats in this wordless gift of rest. This is the sacred rhythm, moving from reading to reflection, from prayer to peace, a conversation that can begin with any passage, anywhere you are. A young mother, drowning in the relentless noise of diapers and deadlines, found her life unraveling. She had no time for elaborate spiritual practices, but a friend suggested she try just 5 minutes of divine reading each morning. Skeptical but desperate, she opened to a random psalm and read, "Be still, and know that I am God." The word still hooked her, a quiet ache in her chaotic heart. She sat with it, repeating it like a mantra, feeling the direct contrast to her frantic life. Her prayer was a raw whisper, "I cannot be still. Please help me." Day after day, she returned to that same verse, and slowly, something shifted. The practice did not change her circumstances, but it changed her center. She began to carry a pocket of that stillness with her, a quiet anchor she could touch during tantrums and work stress. The guidance she found was not a voice from the clouds, but a deep, settling peace that allowed her to respond to her children with patience instead of reacting with frayed nerves. Her healing was in the rewiring of her own reactions, finding a purpose not in escaping her life, but in being fully, peacefully present within it. Across the ocean and centuries ago, a soldier named Ignatius of Loyola experienced a transformation just as dramatic. Lying in a hospital bed, recovering from a near-fatal cannonball wound, he was a man of ambition and vanity, his identity shattered alongside his leg. Bored and with nothing else to read, he was given a book on the lives of the saints and a life of Christ. At first, he read to pass the time, but something in the stories began to captivate him. He would read a passage about St. Francis, and then find himself daydreaming about performing similar great deeds for God, feeling a profound and lasting sense of peace. Then he would switch to his old fantasies of knightly valor and impressing a certain noblewoman, which felt exciting in the moment, but left him dry and empty afterward. This was his divine reading, a slow, comparative meditation on 2 different texts, the sacred books and the story of his own desires. Through this practice, he learned to discern the movements of his own heart, to recognize the difference between a fleeting consolation and a deep, abiding peace. This guided him to a complete reorientation of his life, away from military glory and toward founding the Jesuit order, one of the most influential religious communities in history. His entire spiritual legacy, his famous spiritual exercises, was born from that bedside listening, a testament to how divine reading can illuminate a path when all other lights have gone out. In a modern city apartment, a man named David was grappling with a deep-seated anger that was poisoning his marriage and his career. He considered himself spiritual but not religious, and therapy had given him intellectual understanding, but the emotional wound remained. On a whim, he decided to try the ancient rhythm with a poem by Rumi. The line was, "The wound is the place where the light enters you." The word wound stopped him cold. In his meditation, he did not analyze the poetry. He simply held that word against the raw memory of his own betrayal. His prayer was one of resistance at first. This wound does not feel like light. It feels like darkness, but he kept returning, and one day, as he sat with the phrase, a new thought arose, not from his own mind, but as a gentle gift. What if the light is not the wound itself, but what rushes in to fill the crack it made? This was the moment of healing. He began to see his anger not as a monster to be defeated, but as a signal of a profound hurt that needed compassion. His practice of Oratio became a daily release of that anger, and over time, the light did indeed enter, not as a blinding flash, but as a gradual, gentle understanding that softened his heart and restored his capacity for trust. These stories, from the ancient soldier to the contemporary seeker, are not extraordinary miracles reserved for the saints. They are the natural fruit of a consistent, humble conversation with wisdom, a proof that this sacred rhythm can still guide a lost soul, heal a broken heart, and reveal a purpose that makes every moment of the journey meaningful. This quiet path through sacred reading is not a relic to be admired from a distance, but a living, breathing invitation. We have walked from its origins in the desert stillness, through the fourfold rhythm of listening, reflecting, responding, and resting, and seen how it rewires our frantic minds and heals our fractured hearts. This is the rediscovery of a profound conversation, one that transforms your relationship with the divine from a distant idea into an intimate presence, and your relationship with yourself from a problem to be solved into a soul to be lovingly known. The noise of the world will not simply vanish, but you can now carry an unshakable quiet within you, a sanctuary built from words that have become windows. The journey does not end here. It begins in the choices you make from this moment forward. Let this be your heartfelt call to action. Do not let this just be something you heard about. Let it be something you try. Tomorrow morning, or even today, find just 10 minutes. Take a book of wisdom, find a quiet corner and open it. Read one sentence slowly. Listen for the word that shimmers just for you. Your own story of guidance, healing, and transformation is waiting to be written, one sacred word at a time. We would be honored to hear about your journey. Please, share your first shimmering word, your moment of insight, or even your questions in the comments below. Let us build a community of quiet listeners, supporting one another as we learn to hear the whisper that changes everything.